hello there. I'm Uncle Lumpy, and someone told me that you had to stay in bed, so I thought I'd come over and visit a while, sing a song or two, and tell you a story. Oh, hello there, little hen.
Hello there, Uncle Lumpy. Hello, Chickie. Sorry to see you're in bed, but being in bed's not so bad, is it, Uncle Lumpy?
No, sir, a bed isn't a bad place at all. A bed is a very nice place to be.
Quack, quack, a nice place to be.
A place to be quiet for you and me.
Quack, quack, for you and for me.
A bed doesn't mind if it's day or night.
Quack, quack, if it's day or it's night.
It's always waiting so soft and white.
Quack, quack, so soft and so white.
A bed can be a ship. It can be an aeroplane. Zoom! A bed can be a cloud or a chugging railroad train. It's a very nice place.
Nice place.
A very nice place to be. You know, sometimes I kind of like to stay in bed myself.
Me too, Uncle Lumpy.
And you know something else I like? I like to have the doctor visit me.
Quack, you betcha, the doctor's smart. He knows how to make you feel better.
He certainly does. The doctor's nice to everyone. His visits are a lot of fun. He scrubs his hands with funny soap, and then he gets his stethoscope. He puts it all around your chest and listens while you breathe your best. He says, "Say on, open wide."
I wonder what he sees inside.
He taps you, thumps you, peeks and peers, shines a light in both your ears. He has these funny things to do. They tell just what is wrong with you. You know, the doctor has a lot of helpers that work with him.
Stethoscope's a helper.
Yes, we mentioned him before. And then there's the thermometer. The thermometer's a very important helper. The thin thermometer knows a lot. He knows if you're cold or he knows if you're hot. He says,
"Be quiet while I am busy. Don't fidget and fuss or get in a tizzy, 'cause I've a very important task. I've got to know when the doctor's asked. The little things I've got to tell will help the doctor make you well."
What? You forgot the medicine.
"Oh, of course. That's one of the most important helpers of all. We couldn't forget that one. Bottles and pills, bottles and pills.
They're necessary when you have ills.
Whether they're pink or yellow or blue.
Bottles and pills are good for you.
So pop in a pill or sip from a spoon. Swallow it fast and you'll feel better soon. So bottles and pills.
Bottles and pills.
Bottles and pills are good for your ills.
They're good for your ills.
Say, you know who's the best helper of all? It's you. You can help the doctor most of all, better than anybody, just by taking your medicine at the right time and resting and...
And by eating exactly what the doctor tells you to eat.
That's right, little hen. Now we'll tell you the story of little Orley and old Dr. Feathers. Well, now, once upon a time, little Orley didn't feel too well. His head kind of hurt and his mouth tasted kind of funny, so he told his mother. Well, she put her hand on his forehead and she says, "My land, Orley, I believe you've got a temperature. You go right into bed now and I'll call the doctor." Well, sir, pretty soon the doctor came and he thumped Orley's chest and listened all over with his stethoscope, and then he said, just what I figured. You have the same thing that's going around. I'll give you some medicine and you drink lots of water and fruit juice and don't eat too heavily, and in a couple of days you'll feel a lot better. Then he packed his bag and left. Well, sir, in a couple of days Orley did feel a little better, and he didn't want to stay in bed any longer. And he didn't want to keep taking his medicine. And he didn't want to eat just soups and milk toast. And he argued practically all day with his mother. Well, sir, Orley had just had his 4 o'clock pill and another argument with his mother when the little hen flew up on his windowsill. She hopped over to his bed and she said,
"I see you're sick, Chickie."
"I was," says Orley, "but I'm better now."
"Don't look any better to me,"
says the little hen.
"You need a doctor."
"We've already had one," says Orley, "and I'm feeling pretty good now."
"Quack, makes no difference. You don't look good to me. There's only one doctor that's any good." It's old Dr. Feathers, works like the Dickens, doctor in the turkeys, doctor in the chickens, all around the barnyard, hustling and hopping, plug his head above it, coattails a-flopping. His little black bag is full of good things. He wears a big watch on one of his wings. Old Dr. Feathers works like the Dickens, curing all the turkeys, curing all the chickens. I'm gonna go get him right away. Goodbye.
In a minute she was back, and with her was old Dr. Feathers. And he says,
You're sick. Got a pain in your giblets? Open your beak and say, give me a wing so I can take your pulse. Bless my satchel and, you've got to get to bed right now.
"But," says Orley, "I am in bed, my own bed."
Won't do. This is not a proper bed. Out to the chicken coop you go.
And before Orley could say a word, old Dr. Feathers grabbed one of his arms, the little hen grabbed the other, and they flew him right out the window and into the chicken coop. And then they flew him way up onto a high roost. Because, you know, a roost is where chickens go to bed. Then old Dr. Feathers, in his best roost-side manner, pulled out some kernels of corn.
Here, he said. Take one of these every 5 minutes, and by tomorrow you'll feel better. Good day.
And he flew out the door. And Orley, well, he was all cold and dizzy, and he didn't want to eat the corn, and he wished he was back in his own bed. But just then he felt himself slipping. And when he landed, it was on something soft. And he found himself right back in his own bed, and his mother was standing there. And Orley says, "Well, I guess I had a dream, but I'm wide awake now, and Mom, I'm not going to argue anymore. I just want to get well." "Am I glad to hear that," says his mother. "Now, here's your soup, corn soup." Well, Orley, he made a kind of a little face, but he didn't say a word. He just ate his soup, and in a day or so he was all well. And that's the end of my story, and I sure hope that you feel well soon, too.
Quack, that's right, Chickie. Get well. Bye. Quack, bye. Get well.
Well, now, once upon a time, little Orley was a-settin' in the shade down by the creek, a-playing his guitar and a-whistling a little tune. He was just kind of thinking about how some animals don't get along too good together. Rabbits scared of foxes, possums avoiding raccoons, mice running from squirrels, and everybody running from skunks. Well, sir, while he was busy thinking and whistling, an old fly started a-buzzing around. Orley noticed that the fly had been playing right along with him, and he says, "Hey, that sounds mighty fine. Let's try her again." There was a playing along, happy as porcupines in a balloon factory, when all of a sudden a big old frog tried to catch the fly. The fly got away just in time, and the old frog says, "Chugum, chugum, I'm going to catch you yet. Chugum, chugum, I'll eat you up, you bet." "Hey," says Orley, "wait a minute. You sound like you could play in our orchestra. You have to let the fly alone, though. He's a good player." "Chugum," says the frog, "that sounds like fun. Didn't mean to hurt the fly anyways." So they started in a playing. Chugum, 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 chugum. Well, sir, when they finished, the frog was so tickled he jumped right in the water. Just then a big old black bass came a-swimming along. He made a grab for the frog, but the frog jumped up on the bank and got away. The old black bass, he says, "Blub, blub, 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 you think that you got away. Blub, 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 I'll catch you another blub day." "Hey, wait a minute," says Orley. "Sounds like you could be in our orchestra, too. You have to let the frog alone know. We need him." "Blub, blub," says the bass, "I'll suit me." So they started playing again. Well, sir, it was so much fun that they played every day, and they got to be real good friends. Finally, one day, the frog says, "Well, why don't we give a dance for all the animals?" "Well," says Orley, "that sounds like a good idea, only they might be so scared of each other that they won't come." Well, they decided to try it anyways, and they picked a good moonlit night and invited all the animals for miles around. Came time, and they started their first tune. They played and played, and still nobody showed up. It was just about to quit when all of a sudden a little rabbit hopped out of the bushes. Then a little red fox came out. The rabbit started to run away. But the fox, he says, "Don't go away, rabbit. It ain't much fun dancing alone." So the rabbit came back and started dancing around with the fox. And in a minute, all the other animals came out of the bushes and started dancing too. They'd just been kind of waiting to see how things turned out. Well, sir, the coons, possums, mice, chipmunks, and even the skunks danced and danced, and Orley and his fly, fish, and frog orchestra played and played, but finally everybody got tired. And Orley says, "Last dance, everybody. Good night, and come back again." And then they played a good night song. Well, sir, they had lots of dances after that, and everybody got to liking each other a lot better. And Orley says, "Well, I guess that just goes to show that most everybody can get along together if they really want it." That's all. Well, now, I guess I never did tell you the story about Orley and his magic coonskin cap. Anyways, it all started on a rainy day when Orley and Dingle Jolly, a little friend, were watching the rain splash on the front window. Orley was pretty disgusted, and he says, "Drip, drop, drip, drop, won't the rain ever stop? Slip, slop, slip, slop, only fit for a mop. It's dripping and it's dropping and it's never, never stopping. It's skipping and it's hopping on the window pane. It's popping. Flip, flop, flip, flop, won't the rain ever stop?" Well, sir, by and by they decided to go up in the attic and see what they could find. And they did find something. It was an old coonskin cap, and Orley told Dingle it used to belong to his great-great-grandpappy, a real pioneer who had cleared the forest to make the fields and pastures right where Orley's farm was that very day. Well, sir, all of a sudden the rain stopped, and Orley and Dingle went out to play pioneers. Orley put the coonskin cap on, but the minute it touched his head, strange things started happening. Orley's farmhouse and barns disappeared. And in their place was a little old log cabin. And then big trees started shooting up all over the fields, and in a minute they were right in the middle of a wild, wild forest. Yes, sir, they were right back in pioneer times. And Dingle felt pretty brave, and he started to sing a song. "I'm Dingle Boone by the great horn spoon, a pioneer by G. And I ain't a scared and I ain't afeard of anything I see. The Indians run when they see me come, the mountain lions too. In the forest wide all the black bears hide, 'cause they know what I can do. I'm Dingle Boone by the great horn spoon, the bravest pioneer. I'm smart and tough and brave and rough, there's nothing that I fear." Yes, sir, it was real fun to be playing pioneers in real pioneer times, but all of a sudden they heard something. Yes, sir, you guessed it. It was Indian drums. Orley and Dingle stood real still, and then they started creeping towards the Indians. And pretty soon they saw them. They was dancing around the fire and singing a war song. Warpath, we are on the warpath. Silently we walk with our tomahawk. Warpath, we are on the warpath. Beware, beware. But just then Dingle sneezed. And all the Indians started chasing him, and they were singing a scalping song. You're gonna lose some hair, your head'll be bare, when you look 'em up there. No hair, nowhere, everybody'll stare, 'cause there'll only be air where there used to be hair. No hair, nowhere. They ran, and Orley and Dingle got tireder and tireder, and the Indians got closer and closer. And all of a sudden they passed some squaws. Orley, who'd been taught to always tip his hat to a lady, politely took off his coonskin cap. And the minute it was off his head, the trees and the Indians and the cabin disappeared. And they found themselves back on Orley's farm. And Orley decided that tipping your hat was a pretty good idea. And he says, Tip your topper, always be polite. Tip your topper, tipping it is right. Tipping toppers is the style, tipping toppers with a smile. Tip your topper, that's the thing to do. Tip your topper, that's my word to you.